Part 43. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 421. Although he was very reluctant, in order for the plan to proceed smoothly, Yayu came to Kuang-san before school. "Kurumi, excuse me for a moment." As he said that, he pointed in the direction of the corridor and walked out, with Kuang-san following behind him honestly. After walking to a deserted place, he turned to Kurumi. "What's the matter with that, classmate Yayu?" Chiao looked at Yayu with a smile, and Kuang-san asked in an expectant tone, as if he knew what Yayu wanted to say. "You really know a lot of things." Looking at Kuang-san's expression, Yayu said something meaningful. "Who knows?" Kuang-san spread his hands, still intending to fool him. This doesn't matter. I feel that sooner or later you will tell me everything. What's important now is," Yayu said and leaned over fiercely, pressing Kuang-san directly against the wall very forcefully. "Go on a date with me tomorrow," he said with a slight smile. "Really, really? I'm really not honored." Kuang-san's face brightened up and he agreed happily. "Really, then, let's meet in front of the Tiangong station ticket gate at 1:30 tomorrow." "Well, I'm looking forward to it," Kuang-san said with a smile on his face, and Yayu returned to the classroom saying "see you tomorrow." As soon as he returned to the classroom, he saw Toa's angry face, and in addition to that, Shiori's helpless eyes. I can't hold Toa back either." Itsuka, Shiori said helplessly, while Toa spoke pitifully with tears in her eyes. "Yayu, are you going on a date with that guy?" "Why? What is so good about that guy?" Ahem, cough, cough, how should I put it? These are all tasks. Task. Yes, Kurumi is also an elf like Toa. I dated her to help her. Hey, if that's the case, does Yayu also want to kiss that Kuang-san? Cough, cough, cough. Shixiang's words made Yayu choke for a long time. He scratched his head and really didn't know what to say. Well, Yayu also wants to protect Kuang-san, just like he protected To Shang at that time, so To Shang can't be so willful and embarrass Yayu. At the critical moment, Will He Shizi stood up and explained. Toa seemed to weigh it for a long time and finally nodded to show that he understood. Then, even though it's a date, Yayu must not be confused by that guy. Don't worry, don't you believe me, To Xiang? Well, I believe it. As long as it's Yayu's words, I'll believe it no matter what he says. Finally, Shi Xiang was comforted, and Yayu breathed a sigh of relief. Otherwise, it would have been much fun to go on a date with Kuang-san, and Shi Xiang's power went crazy again. Although he said he already had children, it was the first time for Yayu to take the initiative to invite a girl on a date. Although he had the experience of Shi Xiang last time, Yayu still didn't quite understand what exactly he was going to do on a date. After meeting Kuang-san, he fell into embarrassment again, but it seemed that Kuang-san had already planned what he should do, and when Yayu was walking, he pulled him directly towards the clothing store. "Well, it's not good for me to go ahead." At first, he was still in a daze, letting Kuang-san pull him to walk in the clothing mall, but as he walked, Yayu felt something was wrong, because there was an area for a lingerie store in front of him. "That's not possible. Didn't we agree on a date? I'm still waiting for you to help me pick out a nice dress," he said coquettishly, just like a normal couple, and Kuang-san just pulled him hard. Yayu dragged her into the underwear area. Then the two took the escalator to the lingerie store on the 3rd floor. Yayu stepped into this area with mixed emotions. Starting from the entrance, sexy lingerie is arrayed in large numbers. Of course, all the staff here, including the customers, are women. When Yayu entered the store, he was instantly looked at with curiosity by the people around him. Although Kurumi was somewhat comfortable to be around, this place was not a pleasant place at all. "Well, it's so cute. Which one do you think is better, Mr. Yayu?" The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 422. If it were normal times, Kuang-san would take the initiative to this extent, and you would naturally not let him go, but the girl's incomprehensible words about his father directly confused him. What exactly does father mean? Why would she, as an elf, say such things? It is true that how the elf was born is a mystery, but it is impossible for him to become his daughter inexplicably, right? Yayu was still thinking about these things, but the passionate Tokisaki Kurumi had no patience to wait any longer. It didn't take long for Yayu's clothes to be taken off by the girl. Well, you haven't explained to me what you mean by what you said. Yayu seemed to want to struggle, but Kuang-san didn't give him a chance. I can't explain it clearly. Father will understand after doing it. After Kuang-san's words fell, he immediately gave Yayu no chance to resist, and the two bodies were intertwined. Strange power was released on Kuang-san's body, spreading towards Yayu's body bit by bit. In addition to power, there are many memories, and Yayu finally understands why Kuang-san calls himself his father. Because Kuang-san was indeed born by himself. The crystals of his scattered power fell onto this world and were swallowed by ordinary girls, and then an existence like an elf was born. What will you do if you give me your power back? Suddenly realizing this, Yayu asked nervously. It won't be anything like that. I'll just become an ordinary girl. I don't want this kind of power for a long time. It's best if I can give it back to my father. Kuang-san said so indifferently, but Yayu heard a touch of sadness from the girl's words. She was just an ordinary girl, but suddenly she had the power of a monster. She was independent from humans and was being hunted by her former companions. This didn't seem to be something to be happy about. Now that the power can be returned to Yayu, Kuang-san also revealed a feeling of relief in his words. You will disappear when you give your power back to me. Yayu said this, while Kuang-san fell into silence. Tell me what I can do to stop you from disappearing. Holding the girl's wrist tightly, Yayu said this, and at the same time, the force that continuously surged towards Yayu from Kuang-san's body also stopped. What are you doing? The girl shouted anxiously, but Yayu had no intention of paying attention to her. Since it is my power, then naturally it is up to me to make the decision. You are so willful, father, but this is not allowed. Mother will be angry. Kuang-san said this with a helpless sigh. Mother. Yayu was stunned for another moment, and then the dreamy purple flickered in the small dressing room. With crimson eyes and spiral dragon horns raised high, Nationaza appeared in front of Yayu and Kuang-san. Hey, Nasha, why are you here? If I don't come back, I don't know how long you'll be able to keep your ink. The power that belongs to you is right in front of you. What are you thinking about if you don't take it back? Looking at the two people intersecting in front of her, Nation and Nasha didn't have any shyness on their face, and she said this in an almost cold and ruthless tone. If she takes it back, she will disappear, right? Not only Kurumi, but also Toa and Shijinono. Do I need to take back their powers one by one? Yes, all this power belongs to you. If you don't take it back, what are you waiting for? They are just ordinary girls. Even if they disappear, what does it have to do with you? Naishanisa said this, and Kuang-san fell into silence. She was known as a sinful elf, but in fact it was meaningless in front of the two people in front of her. She was as weak as a baby in front of Nesha and Nisa. Kurumi was looking for the source of power when he got this power a long time ago. At that time, the girl thought that this power came from the original elf, so she went to the crazy world to find her, hoping to use the power of time to return to kill this original elf 30 years ago and end it all. Later, it wasn't until the appearance of Nasha and Nasha that Kuang-san knew what kind of existence he was. After knowing the real truth, Kuang-san couldn't help but feel relieved. Although the ending seems a little regrettable, at least she can still be freed from this power, right? My own birth was a mistake, so let this mistake disappear now. For Yayu, the man who created himself and became his father in disguise, Kuang-san didn't know why he couldn't feel any hatred at all. Originally, Kuang-san thought that he would hate him very much, but after seeing him, he didn't. There are no such thoughts or feelings. Maybe it's because of the power in his body? I have a lot of affection for him, so I don't hate him. But none of this matters anymore. After exchanging this power, I can finally become a normal girl, even though I will die only for a short moment. After losing her power, she will disappear. This is what Nasha and Neza told her, and Kurumi accepted it calmly. She no longer wanted to be stained with blood, and this ending was undoubtedly the most perfect ending for her. But it seems like a certain fool doesn't want to disappear just like that. She looked at the man in front of her with some amusement, the man who took away her first time and caused all her tragedies. That's right, what she said is absolutely right. I'm just an ordinary strange girl to you. Whether I disappear or not won't have any impact on you, right? Don't tell me that you're in love with me. There won't be a shortage of women in an existence like you, right? It has nothing to do with that. I don't want you to disappear, it's that simple. Maintaining this posture, Yayu hugged Kuang-san's body tightly and smelled the girl's fragrance. For the sake of strength, I will not agree to such a stupid thing as asking a woman to die for me. I can't afford to lose this person. Looking at the slightly stunned Tokisaki Kurumi in front of him, power once again burst out from Yayu's body, but this time all the power poured into Tokisaki Kurumi's body in the opposite direction. Idiot, what are you doing? Naisha, who sensed something was wrong, just wanted to stop Yayu's behavior, but it was a step too late. The next moment, the frost stained with an unknown dark color suddenly bloomed. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai. Chapter 423. Nationaza said it very casually, but Takumi Amana couldn't be casual. In the brief exchange just now, Takumi Amana clearly understood how strong the woman in front of him was. It was a power that he could never compete with or resist. There was nothing she could do, no matter what the girl in front of her wanted to do. What, are you? So you little girls are really troublesome. Don't worry, I'm not interested in anything in this world. This world? If someone can use such a title, he is indeed an elf, right? Takumi Amana couldn't help but clenched her fists. Although she knew the identity of the other elf, she still couldn't do anything because the other party was too strong. Quickly turning his attention away from Nationaza, Mana Takamiya looked at the frozen building below and spoke slowly. What exactly happened below? Where is Kuang-san? Isn't Yayu with her? Could it be that Kuang-san's power is out of control? No, it was not Kuang-san who lost control, but Yayu. Naisha narrowed her eyes slightly and stared at the frozen world below. She didn't know what to do in this situation. According to the predetermined plan, Yayu would absorb the fragments of his own power one by one. But now, Naisha and Naisha don't really understand what kind of state Yayu is in. If she follows the trajectory she arranged, she will definitely be able to return to her original appearance, but now. Just when Naisha and Naisha were thinking this, there was another aura around her that caught her attention. Oh, are we all here? Then let's come together. Suddenly speaking so carelessly, while Takumi Amana was still in a daze, Nationaza waved her hand, and immediately several girl figures that were very familiar to her appeared in front of her. Sister, Kotori, you. Hey, who are you? What did you do to us? Kotori said angrily, but the girl's posture at this moment was very strange. The whole body was surrounded by strange flames, and there were horns on the head similar to Nasha, and a pair of eyes also turned into bright red. Is this a spiritual outfit? Will he can lie, you are actually an elf. Takamiya Shina said in disbelief, and Itsuka Shiori on the side also widened his eyes. The sister he has been with day and night for so long is actually an elf. It's not just her. It should be said that everyone here except you is an elf. Nashaneza said this with a smile, and Tobiichi Origami, who had been silently observing everything, couldn't help it anymore. How could it be possible? How could I be an elf? Hey, am I also an elf? Wilhi Shizi also had a look of disbelief. Who are you? Why do you know so much? Well, how should I put it? To a certain extent, I am also your creator. It's okay to call me the original elf. You are the original elf, so, were you also responsible for the disaster 30 years ago? You said that disaster, it does have something to do with me. Without denying it, Naisha nodded lightly. 30 years ago, the power belonging to Yayu went berserk, and when she wanted to stop it, it was already too late. The berserk power fell and caused this world huge damage. Even so, Nation didn't feel any guilt. It was just a low-level world, and whether it was destroyed or not had nothing to do with her. All she cared about was the whereabouts of Yayu's power. Later, she discovered that these powers found several girls in this world and merged with them. Even she could not separate the powers again. And these girls who are attached to Yayu's power are today's elves? Listening to Naisha and Naisha's explanation, everyone present fell silent. Although it was a bit unbelievable, Naisha didn't look like she was lying. And there is no need for her to lie. Everyone except Wilhi Shiori can feel the powerful and terrifying power of Neza, which is absolutely overwhelming and terrifying power. That is to say, are we going to return to Yayu's body now? Become a part of him again? Kodari said this, and Nashaneza nodded. But, then we will all disappear, right? A timid voice rang out, this was SI-11 Nai. How could something like this disappear? I'm an elf. On the other side, Tobiichi Origami fell into self-loathing. The girl's parents died in the space earthquake caused by the elves, and she herself is an elf, which means, she killed her parents with her own hands. If Yayu takes your power back, you will indeed disappear, but... Nashaneza said this and looked at the frozen building below again. It seems like that guy doesn't intend to do this. She raised her eyebrows slightly, and the moment Naisha finished speaking, the violent explosion sounded again. The building covered in ice instantly fell into pieces, and Yayu flew up holding Kuang-san, who seemed to be unconscious. You've got her power back. But, why didn't she disappear? Looking at the unconscious Kurumi, the girl has obviously turned into an ordinary person. Disappear? Are you kidding me, Nesha, Nisa, do you think I will let my woman disappear? It's really fraternity, my dear Lich King. Nashaneza narrowed her eyes slightly, knowing that the other party had retrieved what belonged to her, and said this angrily. Let's forget about the Lich King and all that. I'm just Yayu now. After letting out a long sigh and taking back Kuang-san's power, Yayu has recovered most of his memories from his previous life. He was once the Lich King and the ruler of the Scourge Legion. In his hometown, he led his army to fight against the gods, and reached a consensus on cooperation with Nesha and Nisa, the guardian of the earth, and together they destroyed the gods of that world. But later a more powerful enemy attacked. In order to protect his people, Yayu died together with the invading enemy. The godhead of the incoming powerful enemy was devoured by Naisha, and later gained great power. Naisha, who did not believe that Yayu was dead, led his remaining subordinates to embark on an arduous journey to resurrect him. Until now, he finally remembered the past and returned to the presence of Naisha. The ultimate Lich King. Author, BasedonanAnime Shang. Chapter 424. But how did you do it, get your power back without harming her in the slightest? You'll know after you feel it a little bit. Yeah, you said this. Nation and Nasha couldn't help but close her eyes, and soon she discovered the mystery. Interesting, have you refined this world into your own original world? It's really fast. After observing for a while, Nasha also discovered what Yayu had done. He directly refined this world into his own original world, and then let the girls with their own power in their bodies become the managers of this world. Otherwise, this means that these powers have returned to his body. The original world was originally the source of a person's power, but now it is equivalent to Yayu adding a few girls as the center of this power conversion device. When necessary, when they need to use their strength, they may feel a little weak, but at other times they will still have no effect as before. In this way, I am responsible for them. After all, I created them. In a sense, I am their father. Yayu touched his head and said with a chuckle, and then looked at the other girls around him. From now on, you will be the managers of this world. You must manage my world well. There is no need to explain anything. When a force is integrated into the bodies of the girls, they already know it all. What, why didn't I get anything? On the other hand, Chonggong muttered with some dissatisfaction, she was the only ordinary girl here. Yayu has become the main god, and I have become the divine envoy. But what do the main god and the divine envoy really mean? Toa muttered cutely, and the four series on the side also looked vaguely understanding. They just realized that they had suddenly gained extremely powerful power, and this power was perfectly controlled by them. However, this also solves the problem that they have been troubled by, which is the problem of being unable to control their own power and causing serious damage, and being feared by humans and being hunted by AST. Managing the world or something, I think it's very troublesome when I hear it. Why don't you do it? Itsuka Kotori doesn't seem very motivated. Not only did she become someone else's daughter inexplicably, but she also became an angel who needs to manage the world. It's very troublesome to hear that. This is all so that humans and elves can live in harmony. Isn't this what you have been doing all along? Showing a gentle smile, Yayu approached Qin and said this, and the latter turned his head with some embarrassment. Who wants to do such a complicated thing? I just want to protect this idiot sister. So everything Kotori did was for me. Realizing that he also had Yayu's power in his body and that he was also an elf, Wilhi Shizi also understood what Kotori had been working hard for. Don't show such a disgusting expression. Who did it for you? Although he accidentally let it slip, Kotori quickly turned her head away with an arrogant expression, leaving Itsuka Shiori standing there alone in embarrassment, scratching his head. Are you leaving? Looking at Yayu and Nasha in the sky, Itsuka Kotori asked involuntarily. There are a few things that need to be dealt with, but don't worry, this world is now my original world. I can come to see you at any time as long as I want. After leaving such a sentence, Yayu and Nasha left this world immediately. I'll wait for you at Hakaba. If there's anything you want to do, just do it. As if she knew what Yayu wanted to say to her, Nayashanisa waved at him and left, while the latter showed a grateful smile. Then are you ready? Let's go pick up our daughter together. Speaking so gently to the sleeping soul in his heart, Yayu soon tore apart the barrier of the world and came to the place that haunted him, Xingyu. According to legend, the treasure that can fulfill all the wishes of the holder is called the Holy Grail, and the ritual to obtain the Holy Grail is called the Holy Grail War. Those participating in the Holy Grail War are 7 magicians selected by the Holy Grail, and 7 heroic spirits selected by the Holy Grail. Heroic spirits were summoned as familiars and signed contracts with magicians. Then, there were 7 groups of magicians called masters and heroic spirits called servants, but only one group could obtain the Holy Grail, so, The Holy Grail War is a war in which these 7 groups of people fight against each other. Fuiuki City, Japan, is the place where 4 Holy Grail Wars have been held. Now, less than 9 years have passed since the end of the 4th Holy Grail War, but the curtain of the 5th Holy Grail War has quietly begun. However, the people active in this Holy Grail War are no longer the same people as before. Early spring has passed and summer is approaching, but the place is still shrouded in pure white ice and snow. Einsborn is a mountain city forever shrouded in ice and snow. Living in this permanently frozen mountain town, it is one of the few that can maintain a history of more than 1,000 years without being divided into families or interacting with other magicians. Moreover, even the group consciousness that deteriorates in a 10-year cycle has been controlled. Very good. The monster family that has never made any mistakes for such a long time can be said to have reached the realm of gods and demons. The Einsborn family can be said to be the founder of the Holy Grail War, but despite this, they have not won any victory in the past Holy Grail War. This kind of history is almost considered a brand of shame. Because the Einsborn clan's magical properties were not suitable for combat, they originally planned to hire the notorious magician killer Emi Yakiritsugu to join the war in the 4th Holy Grail War. However, at the last moment, the head of the Einsborn family, Obstakuhad von Einsborn, met a more talented Oriental magician, and that magician was Yayu. Although the magician was very powerful, it was a pity that he lost the war in the end, but it didn't matter. He left 2 children to the Einsborn. One was Ilya, who combined the perfect blood of the 2 families, and the other was an extremely talented child from the Tosaka family. With these 2 children, this Holy Grail War will definitely be won. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 425. This time, my long-cherished wish will definitely come to our Einsborn. Ubustakuhade von Einsborn said so confidently that he had been preparing for this day for a long time, and this time he personally prepared the strongest trump card. It is absolutely impossible to fail again. With the terrifying magic power of those 2 children, if the trump card can be summoned, then this Holy Grail War will definitely be won. Ubustakuhade von Einsborn thought so, and immediately moved his old body and left the room. As soon as he walked out of the door, the android maid standing outside the house came over and helped the old man up. "How are Ilya and Sakura's preparations going?" Ubustakuhade asked gently. "Everything is ready and you can summon heroic spirits at any time." The android maid said this in an emotionless voice, while Ubustakuhade nodded with satisfaction. Since one heroic spirit cannot guarantee victory, then summon 2. With the qualifications of Ilya and Yaying, the 2 of them will definitely win together. "Take me there." The old man said this, and immediately the maid helped him and walked outside. For this old man who has lived for who knows how long, there is no such thing as family love. After all, even Iris Veal, the so-called granddaughter, is just an artificial human created by him, and Ilya and Sakura are just tools for him to win the Holy Grail. However, these 2 objects have become more and more disobedient in recent times. It seems that it is necessary to put them in shackles to let them understand who is their master. Outside the castle of the Einsborn family is a forest shrouded in ice and snow. The seemingly beautiful forest is full of murderous intent, and there are many magic barriers arranged by the Einsborn family. There are countless of them. No one should try to enter or leave the city of ice and snow without the guidance of a dedicated person. Following the help of the maid, he stepped onto a small slope. The view down the slope was very wide. Ubustakuhade quietly looked at the 2 people standing back to back in the snow below. A girl. One has long black hair. Although she still looks a little immature, her physical development has begun to take shape and is full of the charm of a mature woman. The other is a girl who looks about 10 years old and has snow-white long hair. With her hair and bright red eyes, she looks like a replica of Iris Veal. The 2 of them are Yaying and Ilya, the daughters of Yayu and Iris Veal. Because their bodies were eroded by the magic power of the Holy Grail, Ilya has maintained a body of about 10 years old and has not grown up. Surrounding the two girls are strange beasts. These are magical beasts developed by Einsborn to train and stimulate the magic power of the two girls. Very good. As a child of Einsborn, only by fighting like this can you stimulate the magic power in your body faster and become stronger. Come on, Grandpa is looking forward to your performance. Looking at the girl below who was surrounded by wild beasts, Yabustaka narrowed his eyes slightly, and just when these wild beasts were about to swarm up, a terrible force fell from the sky, instantly killing these strange beasts. All frozen into ice cubes. What's going on? Yabustaka looked at everything that happened in front of him with a puzzled face. This terrifying power is definitely not something that ordinary magicians can do. Could it be said to be a heroic spirit? But how is it possible, no matter whether it is a holy relic or a summoning array, there is no preparation? How is it possible that a heroic spirit will come? Just when Yabustaka looked uncertain, the owner of that terrible power finally appeared in front of him, and after seeing the appearance of that man, Yabustaka could not say a word. How is it possible? How is it possible? Yeah, aren't you already dead? Father, sir. Ignoring Yabustaka surprised look, looking at Yayu who suddenly appeared in front of him, both Yaying and Ilya widened their eyes in disbelief. Father. The induction in the bloodline was unmistakable. When Yaying was still at a loss, Ilya had already cried and threw herself into Yayu's arms. I'm sorry, Ilya, Sakura, for keeping you waiting. With a gentle look on his face, Yayu spoke slowly, while Yaying on the side also shed tears involuntarily. Father, is it really you? It's me, I'm back. Sorry to keep you waiting. Father. Yaying couldn't help but throw herself into Yayu's arms, and the latter gently stroked the girl's head and spoke with emotion. Sakura, you have grown up. You are already a big girl. Yayu, you are not dead. Just as the father and daughter were enjoying a rare reunion, a somewhat unpleasant voice sounded from high up, and Yabustaka looked down with an ugly face. If Yayu comes back, then his plan will definitely not be able to continue. These two girls are geniuses in magic in their own right, and coupled with their father, they have absolutely no chance of winning. Thank you for taking care of Ilya and Yaying all these years, old man. Humph, you traitor, what qualifications do you have to appear in front of me? If it weren't for you, we Einsborn would not have lost the Holy Grail War. Do you know that you still refuse to give up that pathetic thing called the Holy Grail? What do you know? The Holy Grail is the Einsborn family's long-cherished wish. I must get it for the family. Very well, if you want it, I'll give it to you. To Yabustaka's surprise, he originally thought that Yayu was going to take his life, but the other party actually said this. What's the meaning? Naturally, he was slightly startled, and Yabustaka asked in confusion. I said, I want to give you the Holy Grail, don't you understand? With a chuckle, Yayu slowly raised his palm, and immediately a golden cup slowly floated up from his palm. The Holy Grail, this is the Holy Grail. Originally, he thought that Yayu was just playing tricks on him, but after seeing the true appearance of the object that appeared in front of him, Yabustaka could not help but breathe quickly. Although he didn't know how the other party did it, but with this appearance, this aura, what appeared in front of him was the Holy Grail. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Shang. Chapter 426. The Holy Grail, My Holy Grail, The Fate of Einsborn. Having traced the Holy Grail for several centuries, Yabustaka would naturally not misidentify this thing. Although he was not sure why the Holy Grail appeared in Yayu's hands, he no longer cared about it. The old man almost frantically grabbed the Holy Grail into his hands and embraced it greedily. However, what Yabustaka did not notice was that in the bright golden Holy Grail, the turbid black liquid was slowly flowing out, and soon it accumulated in a puddle at his feet. The old man didn't notice, but both Sakura and Ilya noticed the filthy substance flowing out of the Holy Grail. That's, what? Is that really the Holy Grail? Sakura asked with some confusion. Ever since the failure of the Yayu Holy Grail War 10 years ago, Yabustaka had brainwashed her and Ilya, telling them to tell them at all costs. The Holy Grail, the almighty cauldron, is in hand. In fact, there is no need for Yabustaka instigation. Sakura and Ilya also want to win the Holy Grail back, so that they can make a wish to bring Yayu and their mother Irisville back. The two girls never believed that their parents were really dead, and now Yayu was back in front of them. Mom, where is Mom? Since you, Father, are fine, Mom must be fine too, right? Ilya said so expectantly, while Yayu showed a gentle smile. Of course, I'm fine. How could Irisville be fine? Don't worry, you will be able to meet your mother soon. Yayu said this, and left the ice and snow with Sakura and Ilya, leaving only Yabustaka holding the Holy Grail and yelling crazily, and soon, his body also it was completely covered and swallowed up by the black mud flowing in the Holy Grail and disappeared. Irisville is indeed not dead, but her body was swallowed up by the sins of this world. In order to protect her soul from pollution, Yayu had to abandon her body. Now that Yayu has regained his strength, he can easily regain his strength. Create a body for Irisville. Back at Einsburn's castle, Yayu helped Irisville reassemble a body, and then introduced her soul into it. Where is this? Irisville, who had just woken up, still looked a little dazed. Before she had time to look around, she was hugged by two people. Mom is so good and you are okay. Sakura and Ilya, who reunited after a long separation, cried very sadly, while Yayu on the other side showed a warm smile. It's okay, everything is okay. Now our family is reunited. Saying this with an extremely tender expression, Irisville tightly hugged the two girls crying in her arms. Seeing the touching scene of the reunion of mother and daughter, Yayu turned around and left the room, leaving his time to them for the time being. Not long after, Yayu heard a noise coming from behind, but it was Yaying who came out. Why, don't you want to stay with your mother anymore? It doesn't matter, let Ilya stay with her mother for a while, after all, Ilya is. Just when Ying wanted to say something, Yayu stretched out his fingers and pressed his lips. Don't think wildly. Both you and Ilya are equal in my eyes. They are both my lovely daughters. Yayu said so gently, and Sakura nodded with a blushing face, and then gently hugged Yayu's body from behind. She was no longer an immature child, but had developed into a well-shaped girl. The moment Ying gently hugged him from behind, Yayu felt an indescribable sense of contact. Sakura, don't be ridiculous. The voice became a little awkward, and Yayu said this awkwardly, as if hoping that Ying could let go of him. After learning the Einsburn family's magic with my grandfather, I finally know what the Matu family is like. However, Ying did not obey Yayu's order, and just hugged him tighter. I know everything about the Matu family's past and the Matu family's magic. It's really hard for Sakura to imagine what kind of results would be waiting for her if she entered the Matu family at that time. As Sakura said this, she could not help but tremble, her voice full of fear and fear. Thank you very much, Father. If Father hadn't appeared at that time and wanted to snatch her away at the risk of offending the head of the Matu family, maybe the Sakura she is today is no longer Sakura. Silly boy. Yayu shook his head in a funny way. What else could he say? He could only let Sakura hug him so tightly, touching the taboo that the two of them should not touch. Father, Sakura has grown up and is a big girl. She can repay your kindness. What nonsense are you talking about? Something about kindness and not kindness. Yayu said this with some embarrassment, but Sakura gently held his head and asked him to turn around and look face to face with her. Please don't reject father. If father doesn't want Sakura, Sakura doesn't know what to do. The girl's gentle words made Yayu feel a little at a loss. He wanted to confront the other party but didn't know what to do. So he could only watch the girl's beautiful face getting closer and closer to him, and then a gentle kiss fell on his lips. This kiss seemed to ignite some kind of flame in Yayu's heart. Not long ago, he had used the Holy Grail and the sin of this world. Coupled with the taboo identity and title between the two, Yayu was instantly, it exploded, almost crazily overwhelming Sakura. That's great. Sakura can do something for father. As for Yayu, she was still a little hesitant at first, but since Sakura herself is like this, why should she hesitate? Kuang-san has already pushed it anyway, so he doesn't care about one more. Now he is no longer the Yayu who was a little confused about the future. Now he is the unruly Lich King, who naturally does things without any scruples. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai. Chapter 427. It's so good, father, this feeling of being needed and embraced. Lying softly and motionless in Yayu's arms, Sakura narrowed her eyes and said happily. Keep it a secret. Don't let Ilya and your mother know. Although she had no worries when doing it, Yayu still felt a little guilty after doing it. Looking at Yayu's appearance, Sakura also showed a somewhat funny expression. What does it matter? Anyway, whether we are related by blood or not, I still want to marry my father. Although a little selfish and willful, Ying also wanted to pursue her own happiness, and Yayu could only smile helplessly in response. By the way, father, is the thing you showed Grandpa really the Holy Grail? Yes, it is indeed the Holy Grail, but the Holy Grail has long been contaminated by evil thoughts. Now the Holy Grail is no longer a miraculous object that can fulfill wishes, but is simply a cursed object that infinitely amplifies evil thoughts. Is this like this? Then the man who pursues something all his life and never gives up until his death turns out to be so pathetic. Sakura said this with a somewhat sad look in her eyes, and Yayu also knew what she was talking about. She was talking about her biological father, Tokiomi Tozaka. It's really sad to think about it, that I have been longing for the Holy Grail until my death and never knew the truth. And she is now carrying the ancestral teachings left by that man and preparing for the next Holy Grail war, right? Are you talking about your sister Tosaka-rin? Yayu asked subconsciously, while Sakura shook her head gently. She is not my sister. When that man planned to give me to the Matu family 10 years ago, I no longer had anything to do with them. Ying said so pretending to be strong, but the girl's attitude made Yayu feel distressed involuntarily. But I also want to thank him. If he hadn't sent me out ruthlessly, I wouldn't have met such a gentle father, right? Saying this, Ying seemed to have thought of something, and asked Yayu worriedly. Ilya also has the little Holy Grail in her body. It is also for this reason that she has not grown at all in the past 10 years. Father, you should be able to solve this problem, right? Don't worry, I have solved all the problems in Ilya's body. From now on, she will grow up healthily like an ordinary girl. Is this so? Listening to what Yayu said, Sakura also breathed a sigh of relief. Next, I am going to completely destroy the remaining Great Holy Grail in Fuyuki City. It is time to end the ugly game of the Holy Grail War. Yayu said this, and Sakura nodded vigorously. The girl's mind could not help but think of the man and the girl. In this way, the shackles that have always been bound to you will disappear, right? Father, and sister. Early the next morning, after Sakura made breakfast, she went out to school. In the 10 years since Yayu was away, Sakura had been taking care of Ilya. It can be said that if there were no Sakura, Ilya's psychology might have been distorted long ago, and she would have become a weapon that only knew how to kill in accordance with the wishes of Yabustica Hayed. It seemed that neither Irisville nor Ilya found anything wrong. After explaining to them a little, Yayu followed Sakura and left the Einsborn castle shortly after. If you want to destroy the remaining Holy Grail in Fuiuki City, you must first find the place of spiritual veins in Fuiuki City. And if Yayu remembers correctly, the Tosaka family has always been in charge of the spiritual veins in Fuiuki City. It seems that we still have to go there first. Let's look for Tosaka-rin. I don't know how this girl is doing now. With this thought, Yayu walked towards the school. Not long ago, he just learned that Sakura seemed to go to the same school as Tosaka-rin, and the two seemed to be seniors and juniors. These two girls really have been together almost day and night for so long, and they are just pretending to be strangers. I thought helplessly, Sakura shares Sakura's difficulties, and Tosaka-rin also shares Tosaka-rin's pride, right? In fact, there was nothing against Tozaka Tokiomi Yayu, and he was deeply saddened by his death. If that man hadn't been so proud, he might not have ended up like this. Because it was early in the morning, there were not many pedestrians on the streets, and the TVs in the few open shops were showing news about gas explosions and home invasions and murders. Oh my God, even though it has been 10 years, there is still no change at all. This Fuiuki city is still so chaotic. Yeah, you looked troubled. It seemed that the Holy Grail War was approaching, and some guys couldn't hold it anymore. Kill ordinary people to plunder magic power. Although the amount plundered is small, it can still be regarded as a huge amount of wealth. Not long after walking, a huge park appeared in Yayu's eyes. Looking at it was an empty, burnt black land. Although it was a park, there was no trace of greenery, and no one could be seen either. Trace. Is this the location of the last final battle? Talking to himself like this, Yayu naturally remembered the place where he and Archer fought to the death, and he could feel it standing here. Those anger, those unwillingness, those resentments, those are the souls of the dead in vain. The fire 10 years ago burned tens of thousands of lives to the ground. The flames ignited by the sins in the Holy Grail prevented the souls of these dead beings from resting in peace. They have been entangled in this place for a full 10 years. Long. This is also the reason why this piece of land has no life at all and has never been rebuilt. The sin and curse flowing in the Holy Grail are still flowing in this land. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, everything will be ended, and you don't have to continue to resent others. Easily expelling all the resentful spirits entrenched in the park, Yayu left here immediately. Just after Yayu's body disappeared, a man holding a scarlet spear and wearing a blue tights appeared out of thin air. Have you left already? The stern-looking man searched the surroundings carefully and said to himself. There was still a good chance of prying eyes from around him, but the man just frowned slightly. After all, it was not dark yet, and it would be too easy for ordinary people to start a war rashly, so it was just prying eyes. It looks like he is a great servant. With these words, the man in blue tights disappeared. The wind blew gently, carrying the dead leaves, but compared to the deathly silence and gloominess at the beginning, the park seemed different now. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 428. Yayu almost followed Ying into the academy. No one thought anything of him as a stranger, because ordinary people couldn't see him if he wanted to. Of course, this is not a clever spell, and ordinary magicians such as Sakura can easily see it. Of course, this also includes the participants of this Holy Grail War. It might be a little difficult for these participants to give up participating in the Holy Grail War, so Yayu planned to use violence to solve the problem, and the first person he found was Tosaka-rin. And if you want to destroy the Great Holy Grail in Fuiuki City, you also need the assistance of Tosaka-rin. After all, the spiritual managers of Fuiuki City are the Tozaka family. Soon, Tosaka Rin's position was locked, and Yayu appeared in the classroom. The girl was sitting by the window, looking distracted as she didn't know what she was thinking about. She did not feel the breath of the heroic spirit, and it seemed that the girl had not yet summoned her own heroic spirit. It would be much more convenient this way. Thinking of this, he showed a faint smile, and Yayu's palm brushed in front of Tosaka Rin. Immediately, the girl stood up from her seat as if she had lost her soul, and staggered towards the outside of the house. Tosaka-san, what are you going to do? Class is about to start. Seeing Tosaka Rin staggering out, the classmate next to him asked in confusion, but Tosaka Rin ignored the other person's intention and just pushed him away and walked out. He controlled Tosaka Rin like this, and after the bell rang and all the students returned to the classroom, he released the spell on the girl. The harsh ringtone also rang in Tosaka Rin's ears, and the girl suddenly realized that she had arrived at the sports warehouse at some point. What's going on? Why do you appear here? Could it be that another master did it? Damn it, the Holy Grail War only officially started tonight, how could you start it in such a hurry? Tosaka Rinho thought in confusion. It was obvious that this was some kind of seduction technique, and he actually fell into it so accidentally. It also shows that the other party is a powerful magician. On the other hand, seeing Tosaka Rin looking so nervous, Yayu, who had originally planned to show up directly, gave up the idea and showed a somewhat evil smile. He looks really calm. He is indeed the current head of the Tosaka family. Who are you? Now that you know my identity, you dare to do such a thing. Tosaka Rin said this with some sternness, and at the same time he was thinking about ways to escape, but after thinking for a long time, Tosaka Rin found that his chance of escaping was almost zero. The other party is obviously a magician stronger than himself. He is most likely a participant in the Holy Grail War. He may have summoned his own servants. But if he didn't say that he was not as strong as the other party, and he didn't summon his own followers, he would basically die. Now, what should I do? Is my Holy Grail War about to end before it even begins? Who am I? I think the clever head of the Tosaka family has already guessed it, right? I'm warning you not to mess around, otherwise my servant won't let you go. Servant? Where is your servant? Let me take a look. Why didn't you help the master when he was in crisis? Or maybe you didn't summon your servant at all, my lovely Miss Tosaka. Ugh, have you been seen through? Damn it, can you just accept your fate? But this guy seems to not only want to kill himself. Could it be that he wants to? It would be a pity to kill you like this. I heard that the Tosaka family's blood is extremely precious. I might as well let you give birth to some outstanding offspring for me. What? You bastard, what on earth do you want to do? Death is indeed not terrible. Tosaka Rin was already prepared to die when he participated in the Holy Grail War, but what this strange magician said next caused chills all over Tosaka Rin's body. Stand up. This guy actually wants me to help him breed offspring. What a joke. You guys, stop being so wishful thinking, I won't help you give birth to a child even if I die. Haha, die. You will not be able to control whether you live or die in my hands. Come and help me give birth to the child. There was a loud laugh of triumph, and the next second, the door of the warehouse was opened. Father, sir. Yaying, who stayed outside the door for a while and heard a lot of bad things, stood there stupidly, with a seductive blush on her face. Father, do you want a child? I think I can tell you. Sakura, father. You are. After listening to Yaying's words, he suddenly heard who the man who appeared behind him was, and Tosaka Rin turned around angrily. It's you. Hey, long time no see, head of the Tosaka family. After being recognized, the farce naturally couldn't go on. Yayu touched the tip of his nose and greeted Rin Tosaka with a smile. I haven't seen you for a long time, you big-headed ghost. Why don't you die? Patting his clothes angrily, looking at Yayu and Sakura standing behind him, Tosakurin had a strange expression on his face. You guy, are you not dead? I thought you died in the last Holy Grail War. I'm really disappointed that you're not dead. After all, I'm also your father's friend. It shouldn't be too much to call me uncle, right? I don't want it, you pervert. Sticking out his tongue fiercely at Yayu, Tosakurin's eyes fell on Sakura again. What did you two come to me to do? Are you participants in this Holy Grail War? Tosakurin thought a lot, and only thought of this possibility. The two people representing the Einspurn in front of him must have come to him for this Holy Grail War. Although you are stronger than me, you better not come here and ask me to give up the Holy Grail. There is no way I will admit defeat. Tosakurin said this, and Yayu shook his head gently. I'm not here to participate in the Holy Grail War. To be more precise, I'm here to destroy the Holy Grail. Yayu said this with a chuckle, while Tosakurin widened his eyes in disbelief. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Shang. Chapter 429. Destroying the Holy Grail, no matter how you hear it, it's a bit exaggerated. At night, in Tosaka's house, looking at Yayu and Yaying sitting in front of him, Tosakurin sighed and said this. Somehow, she believed Yayu's words and let two enemies into her home who should have been treated with caution. Anyway, I am no match for this guy. This guy was the guy who faced the strongest golden heroic spirit in the last Holy Grail War. Thinking of this, Tosakurin let out a helpless sigh. Okay, even if what you said is true, the Holy Grail has been contaminated by malicious intentions and has become a thing that fulfills wishes with the most evil thoughts, but it is also the key to the source and the product of rules. How can it be possible for us mortals to destroy it? Tosakurin said this, looking at Yayu and waiting for his explanation. They are just a group of magicians, and what they use is not even magic. Even such powerful heroic spirits can't do anything about the Holy Grail, so what can they do? You don't have to worry about this at all. Just take me to the place where the spiritual veins gather in Fuyuki City, and let me handle the rest. Is this like this? Although there are still some doubts in his heart, Yayu is so confident that Tosakurin can't say anything. Then, come with me. Saying this, Yayu and Yaying nodded, and the three of them left the town and walked towards the mountain under the cover of night. The spiritual vein of Fuyuki City is located in a dilapidated temple on the mountain. Due to the impact of the last war, this place has been abandoned for many years. Visiting it at night, I have to say that it makes people feel a little scared. The spiritual veins of Fuyuki City are down here, and the Great Holy Grail should also be here. As he said this, he led the way, but suddenly, Tosakurin's footsteps stopped, and the girl looked at the man who appeared in front of her in a daze. Is it you? Are you coming to this Holy Grail War as a servant again? Looking at the servant who killed his father, Tosakurin lowered his voice and spoke with deep hatred. Be respectful, bastard. What is in front of you now is not an illusory phantom, but the King of Heroes himself. Said this arrogantly, the man dressed in a black leather jacket said so arrogantly. He is the famous hero King Gilgamesh, the servant who was killed by Yayu in the last Holy Grail War. The sudden appearance of this man did surprise Tosakurin, but thinking that it was possible that he would be summoned again, he didn't care much. The girl's heart was filled with anger towards this golden heroic spirit and why this man betrayed her father. You got a body. Tosakurin and Yaying didn't know what Gilgamesh meant, but Yayu immediately noticed the difference in the golden heroic spirit in front of him. In other words, it is no longer appropriate to call him a heroic spirit. Now standing in front of them is the living flesh and blood Gilgamesh himself. How is it possible? Could it be that he was the final winner in the last Holy Grail war, so he made a wish with the Holy Grail and got his body? Tosakurin showed an expression of disbelief, while Yayu fell into thinking. He couldn't remember exactly what happened at the end of the last war. He only remembered that the two of them were swallowed up by the black mud overflowing from the Holy Grail, and then Yayu left this world. At that time, he did not confirm Gilgamesh's life or death, but instinctively felt that he had withdrawn. It seems that it was at that time that he got his body by mistake, right? Humph, I remember the last time I turned pale. I thought you were dead, but I didn't expect you to be dead either. God is really helping me, giving me a chance to take revenge with my own hands. Saying this in a violent tone, Gilgamesh's scarlet eyes stared at Yayu cruelly, and then golden light spread out from behind him. We meet again after a long separation. Let's fight again. This time I will tear you into pieces. Gilgamesh roared like this, and in the next second, swords all over the sky were thrown towards Yayu and the others. Tosakurin closed her eyes in fear, and Yaying nervously grabbed Yayu's sleeves. However, facing the deadly blades attacking all over the sky, Yayu just smiled indifferently. In the Holy Grail War 10 years ago, I had to go all out to barely compete with the ancient king in front of me, but now. One hand was slightly raised, and the next second, a biting coldness like a blade filled the entire natural enemy. The speed of the noble phantasm that was shooting towards the three of them was visibly slowed down by the naked eye, and then it was covered with a light layer of frost. How is it possible, you bastard, you? Roaring in disbelief, Gilgamesh was frozen into an ice sculpture together with his noble phantasm. Okay, settled, let's go in. After casually getting rid of Gilgamesh, Yayu chuckled, waved to the two dull girls behind him, and then walked in at the lead. So, solved. That's how the strongest heroic spirit is. He said this tremblingly. Although it was only affected by the cold air, Tosakurin was still quite chilled by the cold air. Father is still so powerful. Because she grew up in Einsborn and learned frost magic, Yaying's resistance to the cold was quite good. Soon, the two girls stopped thinking and followed Yayu to the underground Fuiuki city where the spiritual veins were located. This is the spiritual vein of Fuiuki city, and the Great Holy Grail is within it. Rin Tozaka said this while looking at the huge fluctuations of magic power in front of him with awe. Whatever you want to do, this kind of power is beyond the power of humans. When did I say I was human? Smiling lightly, Yayu said this indifferently. Even Gaia and Alea in this world are not his opponents, let alone a group of forces without their own consciousness. He stretched out his hand as usual, and the terrifying cold air spread, and then when Tosakurin was stunned, his entire spiritual veins were frozen into icicles. In this way, this farce can finally end. With such a gentle sigh, Yayu exerted a slight force on his palm, and the entire huge icicle fell apart in the next second. It just shattered the spiritual veins and the Great Holy Grail. The fate of the Tosaka family for so many years disappeared just like that. The Ultimate Lich King. Author, Xiezhongdai Shang. Chapter 430. The Holy Grail was destroyed easily by this man. For some reason, Tosakurin felt a sense of loss. The long-cherished wish of the Tozaka family for so many years had disappeared so easily. So, what are they all for? What are all these years of hard work and the sacrifices of father and mother for? Everything seemed to be meaningless, and Tosakurin couldn't help but feel sad. Okay, everything is over, the Holy Grail War is over, no, it's gone forever. Yayu said this meaningfully, while Tosakurin lowered his head. Yes, the Holy Grail War has disappeared, completely disappeared, and the cruel game of the Holy Grail War will never appear again. My mission has ended. Next is your mission. As the head of the Tosaka family and the manager of Fuiuki City, I think you should know better than me what to do, right? He said this to Tozakurin with a chuckle, and the latter nodded seriously. Don't worry, I am a child of the Tosaka family. I will not bring shame to my father and ancestors. A child of the Tosaka family. Seeing her sister's confident and energetic appearance, Yaying couldn't help but feel absent-minded. She is no longer a child of the Tosaka family, but now she is a member of the Ye family. Thinking of this, the hesitation on Yaying's face disappeared instantly, replaced by a happy smile. I have never had hatred or anything like that. I am happy now, and that is enough. As Yayu destroyed the Great Holy Grail, Fuiuki City's Holy Grail war system naturally collapsed. From now on, there will be no Holy Grail war in Fuiuki City. Such a major event would naturally attract the attention of people all over the world, but no one dared to go to Fuiuki City to find out what happened, because they could not imagine who the person who destroyed the Great Holy Grail in Fuiuki City was. This kind of power has obviously surpassed the scope of human beings and reached a level that they can't even imagine. It would be better for opponents like this to try not to be enemies with them. Later, Yayu also spent many days leisurely with his wife and daughter in Einsborn. The curse on Ilya has been removed by Yayu, and the girl is no longer any different from a normal person. Because she wanted to make a few friends of the same age, Yayu specially found a school for her to attend. The leisurely days passed like this for a few more days until Iris Veal spoke to Yayu. You have something on your mind, Yayu. Yayu touched the tip of his nose with some embarrassment, not knowing what to say. You haven't met her yet, your real wife. Well, how to put it, I feel like I have no face to see her. And she is not my wife. We have never done that kind of thing. My wife is only you, Iris Veal. Seeing Iris Veal Yayu being so serious, the latter laughed softly. Yayu, you have become bad. If it were before, you would not say such love words. Don't you like hearing it? How could it happen? Although it's very clumsy, I'm so happy that my heart is almost beating out of my chest. As Iris Veal said this, she pulled Yayu's palm and placed it on her chest. While feeling the smooth and soft moment, Yayu also felt his wife's strong heartbeat. However, if you can say what you are saying now to those who are still waiting for you, I will be even happier. Are you still waiting for me? Are Reveria and Hestia really still waiting for me? Do you think I'm dead? So, go back quickly. They have waited long enough. Don't let them wait any longer. But you still have. Don't worry about us. I think neither Sakura nor Ilya would mind having a new mother. Iris Veal's words made Yayu very angry, but it also solved half of his heart knot. That's right, I've worked hard for so long just to go back and see them. Now that I have the strength, why have I forgotten my original wish? Thinking of this, Yayu raised a faint smile at the corner of his mouth, and then gently kissed Iris Veal on her face. Thank you, Ellie, wait until I come back. Well, I won't forgive you if you don't bring them back. I also want to see what the woman who has made my husband care about me for so long looks like. As Iris Veal finished speaking, Yayu disappeared into the room. With Yayu's current strength, traveling between the worlds was as easy as breathing. The space in front of him was distorted, and soon he found himself in that familiar place. It was still a dilapidated temple basement, and it could be seen that there were still traces of people living here. It seemed that Hestia had not left here. And just when Yayu looked at the almost unchanged layout of the small bedroom with a sigh on his face, footsteps sounded softly behind him. It's really a bumper harvest today. We sold a lot of fried potatoes. Yes, the boss looks very happy and actually gave us so many days of vacation. Sword practice. Ace, you're here again. You're no longer an adventurer. Why are you still so persistent in practicing swordsmanship? Listening to the familiar girl's voice, Yayu tried his best to suppress his excitement until the first girl opened the door and walked in. I'm back. Thousands of words that have been brewing for a long time finally turned into such a simple 4 words. I'm back. Yes, I'm back. After so long, I'm finally back. The basket in Hestia's hand fell to the ground, and the fried potatoes rolled to the floor. Ace covered her mouth in disbelief, while Riveria's eyes widened. Well, even though a little more happened, I'm really back. Yayu felt that he seemed to have returned to the dull and speechless look he had at the beginning. He scratched his head helplessly, and then he showed a harmonious smile. Since I don't know what to say, I might as well just get straight to the point. Thinking this, Yayu took a deep breath. Well, are you 3 willing to be my women? Ahem, and during the time I left, I already have a wife and even a daughter. After Yayu finished speaking, there was another moment of silence in the room, and then the 3 girls burst out together. Why don't you die?